So I recently just watched Universal Soldier is kind of a mess, but that doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It's all over the place pacing and tone-wise, but what is good is generally really enjoyable. The issue is that often the film feels like it isn't quite sure what direction it wants to go a lot of the time, and that isn't helped by a runtime that is ever so slightly bloated a bit more than it should be. Starting off in Vietnam, we witness the horrors of war and a battle between our hero, a soldier by the name of Luke, and his deranged PTSD broken sergeant by the name of Andrew Scott over a village of slaughtered innocent Vietnamese civilians. Yet despite both quickly killing each other, their bodies are taken by the military before being put on ice for a few decades and put into a secret black site project and made into the ultimate futuristic killing machine, the Universal Soldier. After a successful mission, however, a reporter trying to uncover the truth behind them is suddenly wrapped up into a murderous conspiracy where Luke's code is broken, and both Luke and the spunky reporter by the name of Veronica Roberts must run from the government, but more so the once again not so slowly snapping Sergeant Scott. In essence, the film is one big chase road film. Oh, it has bombastic, explosive action set pieces, but it also has the staples of every road movie you've seen before, such as the motel scene, the restaurant and bar brawl scene, and lots of character development and talking while on the road. But the film also has elements of romance, war drama, and surprisingly brutal horror, not to forget about the moments of humor sprinkled throughout the film that got a chuckle from me. It's really cool that what seems to be a typical 90s action film touches on so much, but the tone and feel can sometimes become muddled, especially with how brutal the entire thing is. I do appreciate that the film didn't shy away from any of that, however, and there was some genuine fun and over-the-top action here. The film can just switch a bit too fast tone-wise for what should have been a silly sci-fi romp. Not to mention, the film runs a few minutes longer than it probably should have in an hour 40 instead of a more comfortable hour and 30-minute runtime. I actually really liked most of the heroes, even if Van Damme is naturally extremely robotic for almost the entire runtime due to the plot, and Ali Walker gives a spirited, albeit sometimes grating performance as Roberts. I liked and felt bad for the scientists who are forced to aid the military. The sergeant was naturally stock as the gruff military guy, but I have to say that Dolph Lundgren was an absolutely terrifying blast of scene-chewing evil. He gave just enough of a performance to be taken seriously, but with deliveries like this...
Now where are we gonna shoot her? In the stomach? Nah. In the chest? No. I think we should shoot her in the head. Ready? Fire! It's empty! It's empty!
He was pretty darn fun to watch. All the performances are your typical B-movie cheese and stiffness. It works for the film, but the acting is naturally not very good overall. As an action film, it's a bit more spaced out than I thought it would be, and half the action scenes don't really result in more than lots of explosions and destruction. But when there is actual carnage, save for a painful to watch burning alive scene and the final boss fight, basically every death was a headshot. Graphic, but still surprising that was most of what was here instead of a variety of kills. Also, the final boss fight between Luke and Andrews, like the rest of the movie, honestly felt like a video game. Seriously, the entire film feels like one big game, with the stealth mission at the dam, the fast speed chases, and the big power-up filled brawl that ends in a spectacular fashion. The effects of the film were actually really well done, with a bunch of nice practical effects, plenty of blood even if gore was a bit lax, and naturally a whole heaping of explosions, since this is a Roland Emmerich film after all. There were only a few minor air hiccups I noticed, and I don't think anyone else would really take note of them. Music-wise, there was only really one track I actually enjoyed in the film, with the rest being pretty stock. Outside the interesting choice of an end credit song I just did not care for. Naturally, our main hero and villains sounded as wooden as they often do in these type of films, along with Roberts occasionally sounding a bit too shrill, and the rest of the sound was loud like you would expect. And with all that said, I actually did really enjoy Universal Soldier for the most part, even if it's not going to be a big rewatch for me like some of the other action films in the genre. The action was fun when it happened. I enjoyed the fact that the film didn't hold back. I liked most of the cast, and it was a fun popcorn flick without being dull most of the time. I just simply wish the tone flowed a bit better, and that the film had a bit of the runtime fat trimmed. But if you've seen the rest of the action sci-fi flicks out there and want a movie that feels like a video game, you can't really go wrong with this one, and I definitely recommend you give this at least a single viewing to relax a weekend night away. As always, thank you all so much for watching. I want to give a big thank you to the show's patrons, my friend Orion Knight for making the wonderful Art of Punish Neat you see now, and the thumbnail, as well as my friend Alex for touching up the thumbnail design, and Alexander for performing and doing up the show's intro song. My Patreon and their social media accounts will be in the description, and if you have any comments, questions, or recommendations, leave them down below as I read and reply to everything. This is Theo Williamson signing off until the next video. See you guys!